Please don't fall. Let's see if I can, maybe if I, okay. I just feel like this is gonna go very wrong. Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about 24 books that have changed my life. I turned 24 on May 10th, so that was like a few weeks ago from the time that I'm posting this video, and so that means I've lived 24 years on this little swirling blue planet, which is very exciting. So we are going to talk about 24 books that have really like altered my brain chemistry, made me into the beautiful woman that I am today. That's what we're going to talk about today. There's no rhyme or reason to these. Like, some of them are super serious reasons, some of them are super unserious reasons. I shared some of the unserious reasons on my TikTok if you wanted to go check out that video. So now I'm just going to share some of those and some of these, some of this, and some of that. Yours truly by Abby Jimenez, Anxiety. Anxiety. This made me feel so seen with my anxiety and actually work towards finding like different solutions for my anxiety, feeling comfortable in my anxious moments because I had coping mechanisms to get out of it. Because the main character, what is his name? Jacob has like social anxiety, I believe. The way she portrayed him in this book just made me feel so extremely seen. Like, I literally feel like me and Jacob, the surgeon in, what are they, Minnesota maybe? This surgeon, we're the same. Me, a little black girl in Virginia, and this surgeon in maybe Minnesota are the same person. If you have social anxiety and you have been looking for a character who embodies that you can feel really seen in, look no further. Look no further. Next up, we have The Monsters We Defy by Leslie Penelope. This book really changed the way that I see wishes and dreams. This book is very much the grass is always greener on the other side. It's about being comfortable in what you have and who you are and working through your problems instead of wishing them away. This made me dig deep into really uncomfortable moments and times. Instead of just like quitting and giving up, I've just been like, okay, we gotta work through it. You gotta figure out a solution, because this is not gonna be the last time you're gonna be in a shitty position. This is not gonna be the last time you're gonna be somewhere in some kind of position where you're feeling uncomfortable and you wanna hide and run instead of dealing with your problems. This book is all about like the devil at the crossroads. So essentially people could go to the crossroads and make a wish, but whatever they wish for, they get a trick along. Hold on. Got a hair. It was like driving me nuts. They go to the crossroads, they can make a wish, but whatever they wish for will essentially come with a trick. So they get a charm to succeed with whatever they wish for, and then they get a trick, which is a side effect of their charm. So this one guy was like, I just want to be a great actor. I want to be able to show whatever character that I act as. So his charm, a way to answer his wish, was he's able to essentially transform himself into whoever he wants to be. He can transform into any person, look like any person, sound like any person, act like any person he wants. However, nobody knows the real him. So as soon as he changes into the real version of himself and he goes out of someone's eyesight, they completely forget about him. They only remember the people that he can turn himself into. So that was his trick, and then his charm was, yeah, he did become one of the greatest actors in the world because he was able to 100% portray these amazing characters, but he was not the household name. His different characters became the household name, not himself. Don't run away from your problems, guys. The grass is always greener on the other side. You need to take a second and just figure it out and give yourself a breather. Write a plan, write some notes, think about why it's affecting you, what you can do to make it better, but don't run away. Not all problems need to be fled from. Some of them do. Some problems need to be fled from, but some do not. This is a book that I read pretty recently, The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi. This book was fantastic. The audio, absolutely breathtaking. If you guys have a chance to listen to the audio version of this book, I highly recommend it. It was a journey. I felt like I was on the adventure with Amina and her crew. It was everything and so much more. It's probably one of my favorite audiobooks of all time. I can't recommend it enough. But the thing that really fundamentally changed me about this book is it made me more curious. The way that the Arab and Muslim culture was talked about in this book was so extremely beautiful and breathtaking that it just made me realize how much I don't know about the world around me, and how I want to learn so much more. We should be curious. I think books are the perfect way for us to kind of have a segue into different cultures, into different communities, especially if it's written by someone within that community. Shannon Chakraborty is not an Arab woman. She did convert into Islam from her husband, I believe, who is Muslim and Arab, so she kind of like gets a lot of her inspiration from the cultures that she discovered through her marriage and through his family and his experiences. And from people that I've heard that are from the Muslim community and from the Arab community, she has portrayed it extremely well. Most people really, really love this book, and they are not wrong. So if anyone tells you to read it, they are right, they are telling the truth, and I would like you to listen to me. Even if they don't listen to them, you should always listen to me. We are going to be here for a while. I just realized we only got through 3 books, and we have like 21 left. Okay, we can do this, we can do this. Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young. There may possibly be, guys,
this is crazy, so like strap in.
There may possibly be good blonde finance men out there.
Oh my God.
No, like, I'm serious. There may actually be good ones out there, which is terrifying. Most of us have been victimized in some way, even if it's not directly. Maybe you just saw a TikTok of a blonde finance man talking out of his ass, and you said, or a podcast, God forbid, praying for all of you who have seen a podcast like that. And you're scared now. You're scared. I get it. We all are scared, girl. We all are scared. I lived in New York City and had to go through FIDE multiple times a day, every day. It was terrifying. But there may be some good ones. There may be some good ones. Hannah Bonham Young wrote a fictional one who is literally beautiful and amazing and perfect. And I was a little taken aback. I will not lie to you. The first half of the book, he was brunette. In my mind, he had brown hair. I would not even acknowledge that he could possibly be a blonde. But towards the end, I said, oh my God, when did you become blonde, Bo?
When did you dye your hair? What?
That's how I was feeling, because I was like, wait, this blonde finance man could literally like
Get it. He could get it.
So yeah, if you guys don't love blonde MMCs, which I know a lot of us don't, if you don't love them, you will. You are the only exception. Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. This one completely altered Friends to Lovers for me. I thought it was absolutely so expertly well done. One of my favorite Friends to Lovers that I have ever read in my entire life. The friendship foundation that they build is so amazingly beautiful. The teddy bear that is Matt. When you read this book, it'll change the Friends to Lovers trope for you forever. If you're not a Friends to Lovers lover, you will be after you read this book. The Heart Principle by Helen Huang. Burnout, y'all. Burnout exists. Burnout is real, and we don't need to feel guilty for it. We don't need to feel like we're doing something wrong, that we should be able to push through like everything. It's not human. It's not normal to be able to go at 1,000% for 24 hours every single day. You have to give yourself a break. You have to relax. You have to go take a little bath, a shower, if you will. Put a little shower steamer in there. Get some essential oils, maybe drink some tea, bake a pie. Whatever relaxes you, do it. You need to take some time for yourself. You gotta help at the capacity that allows you to continue helping, alright? If you burn out when you're trying to help the people that are trying to help, it helps no one. Because now they have no help, you're hurting and you're harmed, and it's a losing cycle. It's a losing cycle. And this is all about burnout and wanting to do so much for the people around you, but not necessarily having the energy or the morale or the mental fortitude to continue going, and having to accept that in yourself and let people know. Let people know when you are feeling like you're pushing, what is the phrase? Firing on all cylinders? I don't know what that means, but I know that people use it in terms of this situation. We Hunt the Flame, which is the first book of the Sands of Arawaya, I think that's how you pronounce it. Duology by Hafsa Faisal. The next book is We Free the Stars, which is right here. It's over here. I just didn't want to take it off the shelf. This book is absolutely fantastic. It completely altered the way that I think of YA fantasy and made me realize that young adult could be a lot grittier and a lot more intense and political and informative than I was thinking. I always saw young adult as very, not immature, because I don't think young adult books are immature, but this might have changed that for me. Maybe I did think it was immature before I read this book. I guess I just never really had to deal with like really big problems as a kid. So I always saw young adult books as like not really deep. Like I feel like they didn't have that much depth. But then I read this one a few years ago and I was like, kids actually like young adults deal with these kind of things. Just because I haven't dealt with stuff like that, which I'm very privileged to not have had the hardships that other people have had and had to go through some of the trauma and some of the emotional, like mental, like hills and obstacles that other people have gone through, doesn't mean that they don't exist. This book really showed me how young adult books can talk about very serious topics in a way for a young adult mind to understand. But I think they're very important for us to understand these topics when we are younger so that we have the tools to deal with them when we get older, because it's adults and people who are older who have not been given or like taught the tools to deal with their emotions who cause the most harm to kids, and that's how generational trauma continues and keeps on moving. So I don't know, this book just really changed how I saw and looked at young adult books and what I looked for in a young adult book, especially a fantasy book. I highly recommend this series. This is another one that's based in the, I think it's based in the Arabia Desert. It is beautiful imagery and world building, and I just recommend it. In most of my fantasy recommendation videos, you'll probably see this one pop up because it just completely altered the YA fantasy scope for me. I don't have a physical of this one, but I would literally sell my left tit for one. Outdrawn by Deanna Gray. I am in fact a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Okay, this book showed it to me. This book really said, Sera, hey girly pop, hey girly pop, you want to kiss the other girly pops, and that's okay. Get rid of that Southern Christian religious trauma, push through it, and be who you really are. Be who you want to be, Barbie girl. So, now I'm just kind of like, heard you. You are in fact heard. And I came out to the world. It came out to my friends. It came out to my family. I came out on my social media 2-3 days after reading this book, because Sage is one of the FMCs in this book. She is bisexual, and she was talking about how when she came out as bisexual, she felt very scared too, because she thought it would show her as greedy, as like people telling her to pick a side. And I remember when I was living in New York, and I thought that when I went to New York, I would be able to like really show who I was and like really dig deep into my sexuality and learn it a little bit more, because you know, it's New York. But the people that I surrounded myself with that were members of the LGBTQ plus community kind of made me feel like I needed to transition fully. Like I had to go fully into being a lesbian from being straight, that there was no middle ground that I could go to, or that they thought that the middle ground that I was in, me being bisexual, was just kind of like a little pit stop to me fully being like a lesbian. And I don't know, I just felt kind of in limbo, and like I couldn't really truly explore what I was looking for because people expected me to go to a certain space. It was almost as if I wasn't allowed to like both or be in both. But sexuality is a spectrum. You can't, there's no like singular area that anyone has to stay in. It is a spectrum for a reason, because you can be anywhere on that spectrum at any time in your life. You can switch it up. You can do whatever you want to do. It's who we love. It's how we show ourselves. It's how we represent ourselves. This book really showed me that like it's not greedy to love who you want to love. It's not greedy to love multiple people, multiple different kinds of people. Just love who you want to love, girly, okay? Love is patient. Love is kind. Mickey Chambers Shakes It Up by Cherish Reed. Age gap does not have to be barely legal. Guys, okay, come here. Come here. Age gap does not have to be barely legal. There can be a gap in age and not a gap in frontal lobe development. Listen to me, please. If you are on the first layer of BookTok and you were just seeing a lot of dark romance, a lot of like dad's best friend waiting for you to get legal, boyfriend's dad, but like I just turned 18. I'm not gonna yuck anyone's yum. If you like just turned 18, dad's best friend, forbidden romance, that is all on you. That's your yum, and I'm not gonna yuck it. But I want everyone else to know out there, that's not the only flavor of yum. In the world of age gap yum, there are other flavors, and if that flavor is not for you, move on. There's another flavor, and this is the other flavor. She's like 33 and he's 45, I think. That's like a 12-year age gap, something like that. They have like a very large age gap, but their frontal lobes are developed. I'm not gonna yuck your yum if you are into barely legal, like, you know, just became legal. If you're into that, as long as it's legal, you know, as long as it's legal. I will yuck your yum if it is illegal. That's yucky. And no, it's not yummy. That's weird. That is weird. In my personal opinion, anyone can get behind this age gap, I think. Not anyone. I mean, I don't know your life. You know your life. But a lot of people could get behind this age gap. It has all the forbiddenness that you want in like the power dynamic struggle, because she's his professor and his employee. and he is her boss and her student. Sar. The Fake Boyfriend Fiasco by Talia Hibbert. Books don't have to be super long to pack a punch. This made me completely rethink my thoughts on novellas, or like books that are like 100 or so pages, because I've read a lot of them where I feel like the shorter the book, the less depth you go into the characters and the less the story has to develop, which is true because you have less pages to do that. But Talia did it so well in this book, where I still feel a lot for these characters, and it just really changed the way that I think about shorter books and what are the possibilities of novellas. I only have the physical of the second one, I don't have the physical of the first one, but this is the Burning series by Evan Winter. The first book is The Rage of Dragons. This book taught me how strong and intense and great of a weapon revenge can be, but also how it can literally tear you apart. This book taught me so much about holding on to what you believe in and really fighting super hard for what you believe in, and how far you are willing to go for what you believe in. I think revenge is a double-edged sword. It can definitely help you get to where you need to get and give you the energy to get to where you need to get, but it can also be hurting you and stripping parts of you in the process. Like, stuff that the main character Tao goes through in this series is so intense. It's literally so fucking intense, like so intense. It just sits with me. It really sits with me. This is another one of those books where if you can listen to the audiobook version of it, I would highly recommend. It was one of the most fantastic audiobook experiences I've ever had in my life. I would love to make a video for you guys of all my favorite audiobooks, because I'm not an audiobook girly unless it's epic fantasies or some kind of fantasies read in like some kind of accents. You know, then I can do it. Then I can really do it. But romance audiobooks though, they just don't really do it for me. They don't really do it for me. It's something about hearing people do the things, but spoken one voice. It's just it's not it. I don't love it, guys. I don't. Red String Theory by Lauren Kung Jessen. This book kind of made me realize that I'm like growing out of my spicy book phase. Like, a romance book doesn't need to have spice in it for it to be like a good romance. Like, romance doesn't need to have like spice and sex and all that stuff for it to be romance. Not yucking the yum of anyone who loves spicy books. I love spicy books.
Love spicy books.
But I'm getting a little past the point of where I'm going into a book because of the spice level. I'm now going into the book because of the story and because of the plot and because of the depth that it holds. Not so much like, oh, well, people said this was spicy, so I'm just reading the book just to get to the spicy scene. Where now I'm realizing that the chemistry between the characters is what makes the spicy scenes spicy. And this book had no spice scenes. Not a single one. And it's one of the most romantic books that I've ever read. I didn't even realize that there was no spice until I finished the book and I was writing my review. And I was like, wait, what?
They even tittle each other's diddles? Like, what did they do? They kissed! That was it!
If you like Serendipity, It's Already Tomorrow in Hong Kong, I think was called, and then Before You Go, where they're like spending time throughout the city. The whole movie is based on them spending the whole night in the city, or like Fate, like Serendipity is about a lot of fate and like your soulmate and all that good stuff. You would love this. You would love this book. You would absolutely devour it, babe. Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This book taught me that I am in fact type A. I knew I was type A, but the way this book showed me how type A I am. This man made her like a survey before their first date where he had planned a bunch of different dates for morning, evening, and night. And he made a survey for her and sent it to her before the date and said, I've planned these dates, let me know which ones you're interested in. And that's the date that I'm gonna take you on. Like, in the survey, it was like, would you rather have a date in the morning? Would you rather have a date at night? Would you rather have a date like during the day? And then the next question was like, would you rather dress casual? Would you rather dress fancy? Would you rather dress super fancy? Would you rather want to eat somewhere? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? And based on her answers, he would look at all the dates that he had already planned or plan a date around her interests and like what kind of date she was in the mood for. Oh. The way that made me so hot and bothered. I was literally like, this man, if he wanted to, he would. Oh my god, if he wanted to, he would. Like that. And then after the date, he sent her an exit survey to see like how the date was, how she liked it, what she was interested in, what she wasn't interested in. Sometimes I think that I'm gonna be alone forever and I'll never find someone to love me like that. Anyways, Very secret society of irregular witches. He doesn't have to be 6'5", fey, corded in muscle, super grumpy and growling all the time to be hot and fun. He could be a skinny little librarian with kids in the English countryside. He could be that, and you could still love him, girl. I promise. You could still love him. See, this one really opened up my horizons on Bumble and Hinge. Did I find love on Hinge and Bumble? No. No, I didn't.
I've actually had really awful fucking experiences from Hinge and Bumble.
However, I did get a little more matches when I realized that he doesn't have to be 6'5", growly, and super buff. He just doesn't. I would love that. I'm not mad about that. I will always be interested in that. But I am also interested in this. You know, I'm also interested in the skinny librarian boy who's a little nerdy. Okay? He's also slightly grumpy, but it's just because he's like very serious and he really wants to take care of the people around him in any way that he can. Now the kids thing, I'm a little, not like super, you know, fiending for. However, you need to keep your horizons open, okay? You need to keep your options open because you never know when love is gonna come and hit you in the face. You just never know. You gotta keep your options open. Wait, okay, we are like almost not really even close to being done. Okay, Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. The book is too white and the font is too light for you to like truly see it from back there, which is why I held it up. This is a new traditionally published cover, so this is probably the cover you've seen if you didn't know about this book before like a year or two ago. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I have a full shrine to it in my room because I'm that obsessed with this book. This one completely changed the way I saw love. Completely changed it. You know when you first saw the show Normal People? I've never seen the show, but you know when you first saw that like gritty show where it shows love in not the most perfect light? Like, love isn't easy and perfect and fun. Everyone has their issues. Everyone has their problems. Everyone has things that they have to overcome and obstacles that they have to move through. This is the first time I read about that in a book. All of the other books I read were happy-go-lucky fun, maybe a third act breakup, romance, and da-da-da-da-da. No, this one talks about mental health. It talks about family dynamics. It talks about friendship dynamics. It talks about finding yourself, losing yourself. It talks about so many different things in such a beautiful and fun way that I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. I finished it and I just kind of like sat and stared at a wall. Most Olivia Blake books, once you finish them, you're kind of feeling a lot stupider than when you walked in, but also like you could literally take over the world right now. Like I simultaneously felt like Megamind and then also that man that Megamind was fighting against. But take from that what you will. But this book, yeah. This entire series from John Gwynne. This is the Faithful in the Fallen series by John Gwynne. This was one of the first books that I read that completely changed audiobooks for me. Absolutely changed audiobooks for me. I've already talked about 2 different books that I read in like audio version that were fantastic and amazing. I would never have read those books if I hadn't have listened to this series first. This series, the narration, I think it's narrated by Colin Mace, but the way the characters are in the storyline, if you love a main character who has to go through a bunch of trials and tribulations because they're the chosen one and they like are traveling to get to where they need to get to fight the big bad person, and they grab like a bunch of different misfits and different people to help them along the way, and everyone just loves them because they're so filled with honor and they're like that person. These books will make you want to be inside of the book and be friends and go through all the things they go through. I love this book. Oh my god, this series is everything. I hate thinking about it because I wish I was in there. I sat in my car when I finished, like literally like weeping. I was like, it wasn't even really sad. I mean, there were some sad parts. I'm gonna tell you, but I felt like enlightened. I felt like the world was like, the book was so good, guys. Like, I can't even comprehend it right now. I think, yeah. Something More by Jackie Killalea. This book made me realize that every boy from high school owes me money. Pay for my therapy. Because I just feel like to see what I went through from the outside looking in is a little traumatic, babes. A little traumatic. Why I am the way I am, and a majority of it is because of those fuckers from high school. That's why I don't trust anyone. That's why I don't trust anymore. Because what do you mean you were my guy best friend, but you kissed me just because you wanted to see if I would, and then you went back with your girlfriend? Are you joking? They owe me money. Compensation.
Reparations.
Here's another Olivia Blake book. This made me realize that science and magic, basically the same thing. If you don't believe in magic, but you believe in science, and you think magic is just science that hasn't been solved yet, I don't think you can be a scientist without having an open mind. And having an open mind is understanding that magic exists. There is a world with magic. What do you mean you don't think that werewolves exist? How? Why do you think that the way things are is the way that everything has to be? Why do you believe that? I just think, you know what? You can believe what you want to believe. I'm not gonna yuck your yum. Sorry about that. I got a little heated there for a second. That's my fault. Magic is real, okay? Magic is real. And maybe explaining it in the way that they would explain science made me realize that a little better. But, like, magic is literally real, guys. Like, it's literally real. This made me realize how to see magic in the world that we live in. So, like, this book is, like, if NYU was, like, a magical school, that's essentially what this book was talking about. If, like, magic existed in the world normally. The way Olivia Blake inserted magic into the world in this book was, like, so effortless. Like, it just felt like I could walk outside right now and touch it, and I could do magic. It felt too real. A little too real. I don't know if I told you the name of this book. The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. This is the indie cover, but if you've probably seen this traditional cover at some point, if you've looked at it in the last, like, year or 2 years, 3 years. Ace of Spades. It's okay to have trust issues. It's normal to have trust issues. You can't trust anybody. That's what thrillers are supposed to do to you. This is why I can't read thrillers, I think. Because you see how I'm acting right now? From one thriller, this is why I can't read thrillers. This is why. I'm so paranoid, you can't trust anyone. Especially not white people. And I'm sorry if you're a person of color, you can't be trusting white people like that. And my best friends, two of my best friends are white. I grew up in a predominantly white institution, predominantly white town, predominantly white country, whatever. I've grown up around white people my entire life. I've been called whitewash my entire life. You can't trust white people. You just can't. I'm sorry. You can still be their friends. You gotta keep them at a little bit of an arm length away. You can't trust anyone, actually. It doesn't matter who it is. You can't trust anyone. Trust no one. One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. Read the next book that's about the side characters. That's what this taught me. This is how that changed me. Every time I read a book and it focuses on the main characters and then their storyline ends and then the author writes another book that's focused on the next characters, I don't read it. I'm so attached to the main characters that I don't even want to try to read the next one. I'm like, I don't even care. Because I'm going to want to get all the snippets and pieces of the characters I just read about. This duology, this is One Dark Window. The next one is Two Twisted Crowns, alright? Absolutely changed that for me. Absolutely changed that for me, okay? Because as much as I love Elspeth and Raven from this first one, what is his name? Elm and Eon from Two Twisted Crowns have my entire soul. My entire heart, every piece of me I give to them. I love them. I would never ever have picked up the next book in the series if it wasn't technically a continuation of this first couple story, but they go on some kind of journey. So then the main part of the next book is based on their friends or like their family kind of like moving in like their storyline. I usually hate that, but this story just kind of showed me that like there could be some happiness and fun and exciting things in this next story too. Like you can still be connected to these other people and like still find some other fun, you know? You can still do it. I believe in you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I can't really pinpoint how this one changed my life per se. I think it really steered me more towards literary fiction than I was before and like general fiction because I was very much like if there's no romance, if there's no fantasy, I don't want it. This one kind of opened those doors for me, but there's also something deeper and more like integral in me that this one also changed, and I don't know what it is. I just know that every time I look at this book, my heart kind of like stops a bit, my breath kind of escapes me, which isn't unusual for my breath to escape me. I do have asthma. Something about this book, I don't know if it's the sister dynamic, I don't know if it's the trans rep, I don't know if it's the finding themselves, I don't know if it's like the generational trauma or the like being called whitewashed or the history of the town. I don't know what it is, but something about this book completely changed my life. With Her Own Two Hands by Tasha L. Harrison. If you saw my last YouTube video, you saw that I was learning tarot. This is what inspired that. I think the girl's family in here is into hoodoo and they're conjuring women, I believe. So they focus a lot on their energies, and the main character uses a lot of like tarot cards and like sage and has an altar and all that stuff. And I'm not there yet, you know, I'm just learning tarot. I'm just trying to like see what the vibes are. But I really enjoyed the way her family and like her talked about using the energies around them and helping them feel a lot of like self-love and helping them feel a lot of like self-acceptance, and how she uses that to help the MMC because he's an artist, he's in a funk, and he just has been going through a lot of things. So she uses her like methods and introduces him to hoodoo and like using tarots and energies around you to make you feel better. And it was just fun. It was beautiful. It was like one of those black romances that just makes you feel all giddy inside and just makes you feel so in touch with your like culture and your ancestors and your energies, and just like, oh, wow, I feel it already. I feel it right now. It's like in my gullet. Okay, we only have 3 more books. You guys know I'm a certified yapper, but this is a lot. This is in fact a lot. This is a lot, babes. This is a lot. The Poisons We Drink by Bethany Baptiste. This one taught me something very similar that The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter taught me, in the sense of like, what are you willing to do? That's it. That's all. I don't know why I added an extra like emphasis at the end of do, but what are you willing to do? This one is like, what are you willing to do for the people you love? What are you willing to do to survive? What are you willing to do to make money? What are you willing to do to put food on your table? What are you willing to do to keep your friends and your family okay? Venus, the main character, is willing to do so much for all the people around her. And it just made me take a closer look at my friends and my family and what sacrifices I've made for them, and if I have made any sacrifices recently, or if I've just been very selfish and I've been asking them to make all the sacrifices, or I haven't really been volunteering. I don't know, this just made me look at my relationships a little deeper. This is another one of those books that's classified as YA, but I definitely think it's more new adult in terms of like some of like what it talks about. But I do think that 17, 18-year-old should definitely be reading a book like this, especially before you're leaving home, before you're leaving your family and your friends to go to college. If you do go to college or travel or whatever you plan on doing after high school, I think that this is a good book to read. Trigger warnings. There are some trigger warnings. So please be advised of the trigger warnings. Excuse Me While I Ugly Cry by Joya Goffney. I weeped like a freaking baby on the train while I was reading this book. This is one of those books that really helped me come to terms with the fact that just because people call me whitewashed doesn't make me any less of a black woman than anyone else. I have been called whitewashed my entire life. I was in New York. I was friends with a lot more black people than I've ever been friends with in my entire life, because I grew up in a very predominantly white neighborhood, town, area. When I moved to New York, that changed a lot because I was living in the city and it was more diverse. There were just more people who looked like me. So I made a lot of friends, until one day I found out that they were all calling me whitewash and an Oreo behind my back. And they would say like, you're an Oreo, but like, we love you. It's okay. We know you are, but like, we love you. And I went home that day crying. I thought that people were finally going to accept like who I was. And I was trying to figure out like, what about me and how I talk, how I look, how I act, how I speak, what music I listen to, what food I eat, makes me any less deserving of the title of black women than anyone else. The main characters in here talked about how their parents raised them not to embody any of these different stereotypes that people put on black people in order to survive, in order to get through the workforce, in order to get through school, in order to get opportunities, in order to survive, in order to make sure that they can live and thrive and do all the things. But then as soon as you don't meet those stereotypes, as soon as you do all those things that your parents and everyone around you are telling you to do to survive, then you're ostracized from your community because you don't act the way that people think that you should act. I made a video on my Bindery talking about books that really like healed my whitewashed black girl trauma, and this is the one that really kicked that off. I just felt so extremely seen by the characters. So if you have ever struggled with that, or ever struggled with your identity as a black woman because of being called whitewashed, or nobody has ever made you feel black enough to fit into certain spaces, I would highly recommend this one. This is the last one, guys. This is the last one. 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 Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I know I have 3 Abby Jimenez books on here, but that's because I love Abby Jimenez. I love her writing. I love the romance books. They're my favorites. I also have an Abby Jimenez shrine. I do have a lot of shrines in my house, but I do have an Abby Jimenez shrine here. I love it. It's on my bed. It's fantastic and amazing. It's perfect. I just love it. Part of Your World very much changed the way that I think about love. This was the first Abby Jimenez book that I ever read. Completely altered the way that I read romance books. This made almost every single other romance book that I have ever read feel very surface level. Like, I used to read romance books, be like, oh my god, that's so cute, I love that they did that, he really, really loves her, he really, really loves her. No, Daniel loves Alexis. Daniel loves Alexis. Alexis loves Daniel. This completely altered the way that I see romance, the way that I see love. And this was one of the first books where I saw a guy cry. Like, where I read about a guy absolutely weeping because of the level of love that he felt, the level of heartbreak, the level of, like, intense, like, yearning. Crying. Oh my god, this book pulls so much emotions out of you, but it's also funny, and the characters are fun, and you love all the characters. Literally, all the characters are perfect and quirky, and the town is quirky, and the storyline is really good. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. No, like, actually, okay, I'm done. I'm literally done talking. I don't think I'll ever talk again. I think that this is the last time that I'm ever going to talk. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found some good book recommendations in this one. And please go ahead and comment down below which book has changed your life. And if any of them have changed your life in unserious or serious reasons, we are open to all here. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. And yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. Bye!